Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, October 19th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the four-game slate on this Sunday in NHL action, which we will obviously get to in a moment. But first, we'll look back on what was a loaded Saturday, as it often is in the NHL. And we started with a bit of a stunner in Buffalo. 3-0 Buffalo beating the Florida Panthers. Florida's lost their offense. They can't score all of a sudden. You look at them on this road trip this week, the Philly game, obviously the Detroit game, and now here against Buffalo Saturday, getting shut out by their former goaltender, former member of the Florida Panthers, Alex Lyon, who played like a lion in net. Absolutely tremendous game from him, helping the Sabres get the shutout. Some real concerns right now with the Florida Panthers. You know, they lost their cool. You see the Brad Marchand viral video there of ripping the helmet off Rasmus Dahlin and then chucking it around in the penalty box. That was absolutely hysterical. It was funny for everyone that's not a Panther fan, but if you're a Panther fan, you're thinking, wow, this team, you know, they're kind of feeling it, these struggles. There's something they're not used to, you know, to have this kind of a run. You know, they're a below 500 team right now, the defending Stanley Cup champions. So obviously tons of early season woes here for the Panthers. But while we, you know, criticize the Panthers and push the panic button about their struggles, let's give Buffalo a little credit. We've all had our fun ripping the hell out of Buffalo over the years and just, you know, kicking them while they're down. Everyone's done it. But let's give them a little credit for these back-to-back wins. They've shown a little guts. You know, the Ottawa win, you know, a lot of that was Ottawa an author of their own demise defensively and poor goaltending. This was different. You know, this was supposed to be an urgent, desperate defending champion coming in off multiple losses in a row. And for Buffalo to not only beat them, but shut them out, that's a good sign for this Sabres team. Now, I have to see more. Let's not start thinking, oh, Buffalo's back. Buffalo's pushing for the playoffs. No. Got to see a lot more from the Buffalo Sabres before we're going in that direction. But let's give Buffalo a lot of credit for that win. It was probably the best win I've seen them have. As far as a complete game goes, you know, probably one of the best wins they've had in a very long time, no doubt. I enjoyed this next game. Islanders 5-4 win over the Ottawa Senators. Easy over the total winner there. Every game now for the Islanders still perfect to the over this season, the New York Islanders. And now they're starting to score goals. That's now 9 goals for the Islanders in their last 2 games combined with their wins over the Oilers and Senators. Still shaky, though, defensively, and we saw that yesterday. Ilya Sorokin's, you know, still not great, I would say, by his standards early in the season, but the Islanders outscore their problems and get a 5-4 win over the Ottawa Senators. And Linus Ullmark struggles early in the season continue. That's part of the reason why I like the over. I didn't trust either goalie. Linus Ullmark has had a bit of a tough start to the year, and it continued yesterday with that 5-4 Islander win. And yes, Shane Pinto, Parlay Pinto, as we like to say, he's been amazing for Ottawa. Another goal for him yesterday. Those goal props just keep on coming through. Another team that had a nice win is the New Jersey Devils, and you know, the other team that's been a participant in the Stanley Cup final, Edmonton. Obviously, we talked about Florida's struggles, but now Edmonton's lost 2 in a row here on this road trip, dropping games to the Islanders and Devils. Jack Hughes healthy. Look at the difference, right? I mean, tremendous game from Jack Hughes. 2 goals. And an assist, a 3-point night. And how about the fact that yours truly is off the schneid, baby, when it comes to the bargain bin special of the night. Connor Brown, plus 600, gets a short-handed goal against his former team, the Edmonton Oilers. So that was phenomenal to finally say we've got a bargain bin special. Yeah. Appreciate that. But it was long overdue. We had, you know, some good calls that we didn't get the result to show for it. So it was definitely nice to see that come through with Connor Brown getting the bargain bin special, my first bargain bin cash of the season, and New Jersey with a 5-3 win over Edmonton there. Seattle beats Toronto 4-3 in overtime. You know, for the Leafs, it was one of those, again, kind of disjointed efforts. They look good at times. They, you know, didn't look good at others. Not really a complete 60-minute effort. And Anthony Stolarz, I don't know if anyone heard this. He kind of went off about his team's inconsistent start to the season, saying 6 games in and we haven't found our game, reprimanding his team for, maybe not coming to his defense because he got run over by Mason Marchment. And the first guy to react and, whip the net off its moorings there and get after Marchment was Stolarz. It really wasn't any other Leaf player on the ice. So he was not happy with that. The fact that other players on other teams are taking liberties and trying to, run at him, and the Leafs aren't getting in the other goalie's kitchen enough. So it was just, it was rather stunning because Anthony Stolarz has been pretty reserved, pretty calm, in his time with Toronto. Really hasn't said anything that's even the least bit, eye-opening. But for him to just be that blunt about it, saying we just need to be better, enough's enough. He used that phrase, enough's enough. So pretty fascinating to hear those post-game remarks by Anthony Stolarz. It's not like Toronto's in a brutal spot with their record, but their record is right now a perfect indication of the kind of start to the year they've had, 3-3. It's exactly what they do right now.
I love that personally. I think don't let things bleed out and then start saying things and making changes in the locker room. No, you nip it in the bud right now and solve the problem immediately. If he feels there's a problem, and it's fascinating too, because here's a guy who, you look at how his kind of arc with Toronto, where now he's become not only one of the most important players on that team, but like I said, he's really kind of moves the needle just as much as a Marner or a Nylander if he's out of the lineup. So he has earned the right to say something in that locker room. He's seen what's going on.
He's been their best player multiple games this season.
Yeah,
that's another reason he's earned that right.
And that's another reason, right? And that's so it's not everybody's going to want to say, oh, well, he's slamming him now so early. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, fix things now. That's what all 32 teams should be doing. Fixing shit in October so you don't have these issues in January, February, or March. And so I don't mind that. Yeah, don't let a problem blossom and then all of a sudden say something, because then that's when it looks bad, right? Had let's say they go on a 4-game losing streak and now he says something. Okay, well now it's just like, all right, all you're playing like shit at this point. Who are you to throw somebody under the bus? But if he's been playing well, we see that. Everybody else hasn't been pulling their weight. Now is the time for him to say something.
Yep, exactly. I didn't mind it at all. I like it. I'm with you. 100% I like it. I don't mind it at all. You wish Austin Matthews every now and then would be that open and angry about the way his team's playing. Yep, it's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad captain, but I just like to hear that every now and then when we have a piss poor game.
We need more vocal superstars in this game. And like I said, we never know what all goes on in the locker room. But I'm saying as far as in press conferences and publicly,
as long as you don't single out someone and you just include the whole team, we sucked. I love it.
That's what
you should do it.
Yeah. I think we need a little bit more of that. We need accountability, right? We always talk about accountability with the refs and the coaches. Well, the players need to hold accountability and police themselves. Another term we use for other things, but yeah, police themselves in a sense. So there's no reason to have the coaches coming in kicking garbage cans and ranting about it. Let the players solve it with themselves.
No, exactly right. Couldn't agree more. Winnipeg, 4-1 win over Nashville. Nashville team total under cashes. I'm going to be betting this a lot when I think Winnipeg's in a spot where they're going to play well at home. They just seem to keep teams below 2 goals or less. I mean, it's just uncanny. Every win this year, the Winnipeg Jets have held their team to 2 goals or held their opponent to 2 goals or less. So this team total under 2.5 is definitely, like I said, something I'm keeping an eye on. If I ever like Winnipeg, and they're laying too big of a price on the money line to back them, just look at that team total under for the opponent. And that was an easy one there last night with Nashville.
Yeah, the under 6.5 tied with the Jets money line. Yeah. It might be a good look too in those games because, like you said, we both felt the same thing. It felt like one of those games. Those kind of could be slow, plodding. 2-1. You said 4-1. You actually mentioned 4-1 in the score when you said it, but yeah, it just felt like it was going to be one of those games, and that's Winnipeg's style. When they're playing their game, they're slowing you down. They're getting timely goals, but they're really just kind of, pressing possession on the puck, melting that clock down and not letting you get a lot of chances, which means they don't need to take a lot of chances, and it usually leads to unders.
No doubt. St. Louis bounced back from them. They got rocked by Chicago, but a great 3-1 bounce back win against Dallas. I lose the over there, but I was concerned that they'd dig in defensively, and they sure did. They played one hell of a good stroke. Their best team defensive effort of the season by far, shutting down a very good Dallas offense. So 3-1 St. Louis. Binnington was solid in net. Although we did note Rantanen has his number, and Rantanen got the only Dallas goal last night against Binnington in that 3-1 loss. Philadelphia, man, every night I see this team working their ass off. work ethic under Rick Talk. It's been great. The wins haven't always been there, but now they're starting to appear, and a nice 2-1 win for them against Minnesota last night in overtime. Where on earth has this Minnesota Wild offense gone? Another game where they just get one goal, and I think teams are kind of figuring it out. Either don't take penalties or make sure you have a good penalty kill, and you can shut down Minnesota at the moment, because it's the power play that where majority of their offense has come from. But nice win there for the Philadelphia Flyers. Dan Vladar, very solid. He only had to face 16 shots, and that's another concern. 16 shots last night for Minnesota, and they didn't have many shots the previous night against Washington. So they're just not throwing enough pucks on net. They don't have the puck enough all of a sudden the last couple games. Hard to score when you don't have the puck as much as you should. So Philly with the 2-1 win in overtime. Columbus 3-2 win against Tampa Bay. I had the first period over, but I also had the bifecta and the full game over. So the full game over falling short was unfortunate. Johansson was good, solid even in a losing effort, because Columbus kind of outplayed Tampa Bay. And Jack Reeves was very good again, and finally gets rewarded with a win. Because I thought he had played well in the losses that Columbus had with him in net previously. But a nice 3-2 win there for the Jackets. How about the Rangers? They finally figured out how to put the puck in the net last night a little bit. 4-3 win against the Montreal Canadiens. That's a nice win for the Rangers with how well Montreal have been playing, and with the fact they were down 2-0 in the first 4 minutes of that game last night against the Habs. But finally, they get a little offense going. The power play goal from Zibanejad, and then Miller, Robertson, and finally Panarin sighting to get them going, and a 4-3 win over a red-hot Montreal team. So really, really nice and much-needed road win, and much needed for Mike Sullivan and his team to see the puck go in the net. That is for sure. Colorado 4-1 win against Boston last night. Pretty nice workmanlike, solid effort from the Avs. Dominated in shots 38-14. Didn't look like there was a lot of gas in the tank for Boston last night, and we'll get to that later. It's not going to get any easier because you're in altitude last night. You looked like you were playing with heavy legs. And now you're going to have to play the Utah Mammoth tonight, also in thin air and altitude on a back-to-back, when you look like you had heavy legs last night if you're Boston. So not exactly a great spot against Utah possibly later tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes blow a 2-0 lead, but they hang on and they get the 4-3 overtime win against actually 3-0 lead. And then LA got 3 unanswered goals. Here's the thing about LA. They're a tire fire right now. This coach doesn't know what we've said this a million times, so I'm not going to belabor it. But I like they showed some effort. They showed some dig in and find a way to get back in it. I applaud that from them last night, despite being down 3-0. But at the end of the day, they're not playing 60 minutes of hockey. Another night where they're in the penalty box too much. This is a nightly occurrence for LA. It's got to stop. You can't be taking penalties at this clip against these good teams and these good power plays and expect to have good things to say about it at the end of the night. So that's got to stop. And like I said, they've got issues in goal right now, too, because Forsberg actually was better last night. He made some good saves, but, still, not a guy you want to count on night in and night out. Kemper banged up. And right now, they're just not playing 60 minutes of hockey. They have lapses in every single game they've played this season, and it's coming back to haunt them right now. And they lose that game 4-3 to Carolina. The over best bet cashes for me in that game, which was good to see. And then the late games, we saw Vegas 6-1 against Calgary. That was the most complete game I think we've seen from Vegas this year.
Yeah.
Really solid start to finish. And if Dustin Wolf, and it's not all his fault, that blue line's really rough in front of him, but he's not playing the way he's capable of. And if that's going to happen, Calgary's going to have a hard time winning games. That's simple as that. They're now 1-5 on the season. Vegas, what's scary about Vegas is Eichel and Dorofeyev and Barbashev, and Marner is an assist man. But if Marner's going to start scoring goals too, like the 2 goals he had last night, that offense could be that. This has a chance to be a special offensive hockey team this year, Vegas. We know that. And it seems like every night they're going over their team total. Even in the games they haven't played well, Alex, they found ways to go over their team total this season. And, of course, one of the best bets going, one of the best trend bets going, cashes for both of us. First period over in Vegas home games. That was Alex's best bet on the show yesterday. Like clockwork now, something like 12-2 in October in the last 2 years with the first period overs for Vegas at home. So that just keeps rolling. And the final game of the night, we had the overs fall short here, but, One thing I underestimated was Tristan Jarry against his old battery mate, Alex Nedeljkovic, and Nedeljkovic facing his old team. Maybe these two usually, mediocre goalies were going to step up, and they really both did. I mean, there were 29 shots in the first period combined, 18-11. That's insane shot volume for one period. And still, no pucks went in. So, both guys did play well last night. Jarry getting the shutout. Nedeljkovic was pretty solid in defeat. And Pittsburgh gets a 3-0 win. And what about Ryan Warsofsky, dejected in the postgame, saying, now, I know he was kidding when he said this, but it's just, I don't know if that's the best analogy to make. I'd give up one of my children for a fucking win, was the quote from Ryan Warsofsky postgame after the loss to Pittsburgh, which now sends San Jose to, what is it now they are to start the year? Ofer still on the season. So, yeah, they're still looking for that first win. Yeah, interesting choice of words there. I'd give up one of my children for a fucking win, Ryan Warsofsky. That tells you the guy's stressed. When he's throwing out a quote like that, talking about giving up a kid of his, to get a win at 0-5. There's some stress involved. Alex, your thoughts on Saturday?
I mean, it's mostly hyperbole, but I'm sure there's got to be frustration there. We'll
kids are watching that thinking, what did I ever do, Dad?
Right. And we'll get to this briefly because I know we got a game coming up very shortly. The biggest takeaway, just blanketed from overall watching, especially last night, but I'd say in the last 4 nights, we've been seeing the increase in pace of play. Right? You're still seeing that energetic up and down style that you normally see, especially at the beginning of the year. But we're not seeing enough finish. There's a lot of guys who are just struggling to finish. And like I said, it's a combination. There's some great defenses, too. There's been some weaker defense, like I said, Calgary. I mean, they just look absolutely putrid on the blue line. And shout out Goose is in the chat. Shout out to him. He's the one who said in the Flames preview, they could be one of the worst teams in the league. And the way that they're playing right now, if they aren't giving Wolf support, and Devin Cooley, okay, yes, he had a great start his last game. How many more of those can he turn in? This could get completely out of hand for Calgary. Like I wouldn't be shocked. I think my Penguins last bet is Penguins to finish last might be in trouble because Calgary, if Wolf isn't bailing them out, and how many nights can he bail them out? Like I said, you can only do so much if you have absolutely no one blocking shots and clearing passes, clogging up passing lanes for you. So that was pretty bad. Philly, I'm just mentioning this briefly too. We got the over 10.5 for October points. We're at 5. They play Seattle, at Ottawa, home at New York, home at Pittsburgh, and home at Nashville down the stretch. And we just need 3 wins or 5 more points, 6 more points out of that stretch. So I will definitely be looking on spots to back or fade with Philly moving forward in regards to that over 10.5 bet.
That was a good bet. You saw that soft schedule. Philadelphia had a chance to get off to a good start. And like I said, they have got
taking advantage of being at home too.
And that too. So yeah, and plus the coach bump. Like that's the one thing about Rick Tocchet, the first little stretch when he takes over, and we saw it in Vancouver. Certainly, good things usually happen, and results usually follow, and we're seeing that for sure. All right, let's get into the Sunday card. 4 games, and we begin with a game that will start in about 15 minutes from now. We got Vancouver and Washington. Washington minus 160, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Other than Protas, that's the only bet I have in this game is Protas to score. That's it. Protas to score. Protas has been great. I mean, what more can we say? How good is already early in the season that season-long prop for him to get 30 goals again? Looking off to a great start there with that, no doubt. So I like Protas to get on the board, but I think there's a tricky game from a side and totals perspective. Washington's winning right now, dominated Minnesota. They completely deserved to win that game. Completely stifled, suffocated Minnesota. We'll see how they fare. It's an early start affair. Vancouver, 9:30 a.m. start time on their body clock. I don't want to step in front of Washington right now with the way they're playing. That being said, Vancouver in the past has had some success here in D.C. against this Caps team. They beat them here 2 years ago in overtime. Last year, actually, they did lose, but 2-1 in overtime. Made it a difficult game. 5 straight unders, by the way, in this series history between the Canucks and the Capitals as well. So, yeah, it's just maybe a sprinkle on the draw. I don't hate that. I might do that. Just a small sprinkle on the draw. I don't hate it. Back-to-back years, the games in Washington between Vancouver and Washington have gone to overtime. So maybe a little sprinkle on the draw. And the only other bet I have here is Protas to score a goal. That's it. I think the side and total for this game's a little bit tricky. I almost called you C-Mac. My buddy Connor Mack from the fucking Hitting the Books show. And yeah, there we go. No, he's not C-Mac. He's Alex B. Smith. Alex, what do you think here, Vancouver?
Yeah. I kept it simple. I like Tom Wilson to get 2 points plus 350. I bet that earlier. I'd lean with the draw too, especially with the early start kind of. But then, like I said, it's alumni weekend for the Capitals. And shout out to John Massey in our group chat made the great point about the body clock with Vancouver playing 2 Central games and now having to go east, and then you having this wonky start time, this 12:30, 12:45 kind of start. Could be a little bit sluggish. If Washington jumps out early, maybe this thing gets out of hand. So I don't want to touch a side or a total. Lean with the draw, but I do like Tom Wilson to get 2 points plus 350.
Right, there you go, Tom Wilson. 2 points, over 1.5 points at plus 250. Like I said, I'll sprinkle on the draw here in this game in that plus 320 range. And like I said, with Mr. Protus, plus, you're not getting bargain bins anymore with that guy, but still plus 260, the way he's scoring right now, worth a bet. All right, Edmonton, Detroit. We've got Edmonton minus 135, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I feel at this price, if you're betting Edmonton, you're betting the do factor after 2 losses in a row. If you're betting what your eyes have seen right now, I think you have to take the Red Wings as a home dog. I like what I'm seeing from Detroit right now. And Edmonton is they're not up to par here on this road trip so far. I know they've got the win against the offensively challenged, you can't score at home, New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden to start the road trip. But you look at it since then, the loss to the Islanders 4-2. Offense can't get going. Offense at 5-on-5 has had some issues for Edmonton here these last few games. That's concerning. One of the 2 goals they got against the Islanders was a power play goal. Only one 5-on-5 even strength goal against the Islanders the other night. Yesterday they lose 5-3 against New Jersey. They got a very late goal from Lazar, 2 goals before that from Nugent Hopkins, but things just aren't completely rolling at the moment on the offensive side of things for the Edmonton Oilers. Meanwhile, Detroit, they're playing some good hockey. John Gibson, had a rough first game against Montreal. They turned to Talbot. He was great. They go back to Gibson against Tampa, and that's the John Gibson they hoped they were signing up for. He was very good against Tampa. 1 goal allowed on 32 shots against. Rich H points it out. This is a 1 p.m. Mountain Time game in Edmonton. Detroit's played these before. I'm gonna take Detroit here plus 115 in this game. They're playing well right now, and like I said, when you look at the way the Red Wings are getting goaltending at the moment, when you look at the way they've carried the play a lot more, they've outshot 3 of their last 4 opponents. And they beat good teams like Toronto twice, Florida, and Tampa. Does it really get much better than that? No. I mean, that's a pretty good quartet. And by the way, this has been a team, Detroit that is, that's given Edmonton some fits. I know Edmonton's won 3 of the last 5, but pretty much every game's been close. Now, Edmonton's won 2 in a row in Detroit, but they needed to go to overtime in both games. So with that in mind, this is another one. I didn't plan it to be this way, but another draw sprinkle for me in this game as well with the Oilers and the Red Wings. We've got a real strong history of overtime hockey with these 2 teams head-to-head. 4 of the last 5 Oilers-Wings meetings have gone past regulation. So dog and draw split for me here in this Sunday matinee affair. Alex, what do you think? Oilers, Red Wings.
Yeah, so the only thing I went with was the draw. I grabbed it plus 325.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I agree. I think the draw is worth a look when you see that kind of split here, or that kind of history, I should say, as far as games going to overtime. As far as props here in this game, how do we not go back to the well with our guy Appleton? Talked about Mason Appleton up on the top line right now for the Detroit Red Wings. Something we've been able to take advantage of here in these last few games for them. So that's definitely something worth a look. You look at Edmonton, Mangiapane. Kapanen is now looking like he's going to get the shot with Draisaitl. They've shifted Roslovic. To be honest, Roslovic's not given them a whole lot lately since he was up there. But like I said, maybe putting Kasperi Kapanen up on the second line for the Edmonton Oilers with Leon Draisaitl will help things out. Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Mangiapane looks to be the top line here for Detroit. So, like I said, a couple props that I'm interested in. Mangiapane value, maybe a little value on Kapanen, and yes, we're going to go back to the well for sure on the Detroit side with Mason Appleton. Casper and Berggren are now with DeBrincat, and Jonathan Berggren looks like he's been bumped up the lineup here a little bit. Actually, no, he hasn't been bumped up the lineup. He's been out for the last 3 games, but it's looking like he's going to be back in the lineup, Detroit, for this one this afternoon, and maybe playing on the second line. So the guy's got some offensive ability. We've seen it in the past. So I think Jonathan Berggren here for Detroit, re-entering the lineup. When coach gives you this opportunity, Todd McClellan, these are the situations where you want to make the most of it. When you've been sitting for the last 3 games, you're in the lineup, you're put with DeBrincat on the second line, chance to make an impact. So I think Jonathan Berggren worth a look for props here in this game for the Detroit Red Wings. All right, the next 2 games are Sunday night games later this evening. We've got the Joe Quenneville Bowl in the Windy City here tonight. Anaheim Ducks, Chicago Blackhawks. We've got Anaheim minus 125, road favorites, 6 the total. Now, obviously, he's coached a bunch of games against Chicago since he left there, obviously in his time in Florida years ago. We remember that. So it's not like this is his first return to the United Center after coaching the Blackhawks for all those glorious years. But still, it's a special feeling. No question about that for him, I'm sure, going back there. Amid the turmoil that went down, all those, with the Cal Beach thing. But nevertheless, like I said, I think when you look at this matchup here, Anaheim and Chicago, I was saying this to Alex last night, you couldn't pay me to watch Anaheim versus Chicago 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Just they could put Anaheim, Chicago, it could put a Ducks Blackhawks game in my backyard. I'd draw the blinds 2-3 years ago. No, not interested when these two teams play. Now, 2025 Ducks and Blackhawks, and based on how much fun and enjoyment I've had watching these teams play so far this season, sign me up. I'm there tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time to watch this game. This should be fun. 2 young up-and-coming teams, 2 skilled teams, 2 fast teams. Like I said, it's 2 teams that are very good in transition, 2 teams that I think when you give them power play opportunities, they have the capability now to burn you with the man advantage. So, like I said, there's definitely a lot to like about what we're seeing from both the Ducks and the Blackhawks. Blackhawks, and Jeff Blashill said it after the loss to Vancouver. Complacency kind of set in after we got that 2-0 first period lead, he said. He said, we just got to keep the foot on the throttle, and we didn't do that enough against the Canucks, and we paid the price for it. So I would anticipate, more aggressiveness tonight, and if they do get a lead, step on it here tonight, especially after what happened against Vancouver. What I like and how this sets up here with this game, Ducks and Blackhawks, is that Chicago's off a 2-goal output against Vancouver. That's not going to win you a lot of games, usually only scoring 2 goals. Anaheim got shut down by that, defensive juggernaut, the lone remaining undefeated team in the league, Carolina, in their last game, losing 4-1. So you have both teams off losses, and you have both teams that were held to 2 points or 2 goals or less in their most recent game, resulting in a loss. So I expect a little bit more aggressive play from both teams. So I'm on over 6 here with Anaheim and Chicago. The side's tricky because Anaheim off a loss is my lean, but Chicago, with the way Blashill was working that team in practice yesterday following the Vancouver game, looked like he was not thrilled with the way that game disintegrated for his team, and you'd expect better from Chicago tonight off a practice like that. So for that reason, I'm off Anaheim. I'm going to not bet him, even though I kind of lean that way. I'm going to stick to the total here, over 6, in the hope that if Chicago does get a lead this time, it's not going to be, hey, let's just rest on our laurels and nurse this thing home. No, step on it, get the job done, and keep adding to your lead. Don't, just keep tacking on, if you will. And by the way, when you look at Anaheim, if we only have one result for them, one previous data point for them off a loss this year, and that was when they lost their first game against Seattle, and they exploded for 7 goals, and that was kind of a back-and-forth affair against San Jose. So I kind of feel off a loss and off a lower-scoring loss this season, Anaheim's going to be kind of an over team in their next game, and that's kind of my logic here behind the over. So Anaheim, Chicago, over 6 for me. Alex, what do you think here? Ducks, Blackhawks.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game, and I don't know why this game isn't necessarily nationally televised, having Q coming back to the United Center. Like you said, it's not his first return back, but the fact that it is his first return after being back into the league, like you said, the welcome and the response could be interesting. It may not be all cheers and applause necessarily, and that's something to kind of know. It won't matter as much as in the game, obviously, but it's just something that's just an added storyline to. You got two teams, like you said, nobody gave a shit about these two teams a couple of years ago, and now the budding superstars of the league are on the ice for both of these clubs. There's a lot of young talent. If you can go to this game tonight, by all means, grab a ticket and go, because these are some guys that you'll see them now, and in 5-6 years from now, we'll be talking about these two teams being powers of the West, I believe. And so to see them in this early stage, and like I said, the Hawks, for as well as they played in the first period against Vancouver, they absolutely just laid an egg and failed turning around in that second period. Like I said, Blashill was working them hard in practice, which you like seeing that for certain, losses in certain games, but that I hope that doesn't become a recurring theme after every loss.
No, you can't go to that well too often. You got to pick your spots with the bag skates,
right,
or else the players will tune out at some point if you're doing it too much. Yeah.
And I've been seeing clips of them skating really hard, especially the skates they do at the end of practice and different things. So that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that this Hawks team doesn't get discouraged by having some tough results and then having to put the work in a little bit extra in practice. But they did that. They also worked on their shootout moves. I was reading that quote as well, which I was really happy about, because I think that was actually one of the dullest parts of that game when they lost the other night. Was not second period was terrible, but the shootout. I mean, no creativity and moves from Nazar or Bedard, two guys we know have a bag of tricks in their arsenal.
Yeah, they just basically dead on shoot straight right at Kevin Lankin in that shootout. Yeah.
And it just further showed that their heads had kind of fallen out of it after blowing that lead. They were never really as engaged as they need to be, even if that game goes in overtime shootout. That's when you have to turn that energy back on. So I like how Blashill's doing things. I just don't want him to overdo it. But this is a spot where I like Hawks first period money line. I grabbed minus $1.02. I'm on Hawks team total over 3. You can get that MGM. You get off of the 2.5 because that 150 is a crazy price. But 3 minus $1.05 at MGM. Played a little piece of that, and then Frank Nazar props. One I'll tell you right now is anytime goal scorer plus 240. Another one I'll tell you about later.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Nazar is always. I think I bet Frank Nazar goal every game for Chicago, and I'm doing that again tonight. So that is nothing new, nothing different for yours truly as far as that's concerned. Bertuzzi might be the guy that's worth a look here, because now he's up with Bedard and Burakovsky from all indications, and it might end up being one of these situations. And he scored in back-to-back games too. Tyler Bertuzzi against St. Louis, he got one of their goals, and of course against Vancouver as well. So Tyler Bertuzzi, might be worth a look there. And again, if he's going to play with Bedard and with Burakovsky, Colton Dock's down on the fourth line.
Yeah.
So
Dock had up to the second.
Yeah. And didn't really make the most of them. So now Tyler Bertuzzi getting that chance.
I'd be careful with backing McCabe, even though he's moving up in the lineup and he has scored a couple of goals. But that's how he usually does. He gets a couple of goals, he gets the bump in the lineup, then he's Mr. Cardio, and then he goes back to the third or fourth line. So just beware.
Yeah. Gets his cardio in when he gets the opportunity. Yeah, Donato's Pizza's worth a shot too. He's starting to get going. Slow start, first 3 games without a point, but points in 3 straight games, goals in 2 straight games for Donato's Pizza. So yeah, Donato, Nazar, and Bertuzzi. I like all 3 of those as far as props for Chicago. For Anaheim, it's probably Carlson, it's Gauthier, and it's our guy Seneca, Beckett, Seneca. You know what I like about Beckett Seneca? Not only has he produced points and scored a couple goals already this year, I saw in that Carolina game where it looked like almost for a minute Anderson and Dostal were going to get into a goalie fight during that mini little line brawl that unfolded in that game. Beckett Seneca was getting his nose right in there, showing a little edge, which is good to see for a guy that's not even 20 years old yet, Beckett Seneca, for the Anaheim Ducks. So I love seeing that little backbone from such a young player like that. So it's great to see that. So Alex on Chicago first period money line and team total over, and I'm on the full game over here with the Ducks and the Blackhawks. All right, final game of this Sunday slate. We've got the Boston Bruins taking on the Utah Mammoth. Utah minus 210 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. This is a brutal spot for Boston. I mean, they look like they had no legs last night in Colorado, getting outplayed heavily and losing 4-1 to the Avalanche. And now you're going to bring them to another place where it's thin air and altitude on the second night of back-to-backs against this Utah team. So, like I said, I've got some real issues here as far as trusting the Boston Bruins to play a really good game here against Utah. So we'll see how this unfolds. But like I said, definitely concerns about this spot for Boston. And Boston's starting to show that why they might be one of the worst teams in the East. I know they had that 3-0 start, but you start to look at it. They got heavily outshot by Washington, won that on the backs of Jeremy Swayman, who had a great night that night. Barely beat Chicago. That was a coin flip game that could have went either way. They beat lowly Buffalo 3-1. Although Buffalo's played better the last 2 games to their credit, but still, that's not a dominant, first 3 games on their schedule. And then they end up playing Tampa, Vegas, Colorado. You play real big time teams 3 in a row, and you end up getting crushed in all 3 of those games. 4-3, 6-5, 4-1. You give up 14 goals in those last 3 losses combined. Did the Boston Bruins. So Jimmy Murphy, to his credit, he was telling me and anyone that would listen, he does not think this is a good Bruin defense at all, and that they were going to give up goals. And it didn't look like it early. It looked like, whoa, they're actually playing okay. But now the floodgates are starting to open for opposing teams now against this Bruins team. The good news, though, for the Boston Bruins is that they did get Hampus Lindholm back in the lineup last night against Colorado, but still they struggled a little bit defensively. It does help, though, but it's just a real tough spot. Utah, we talked about how Devin Cooley is the only reason they held Utah to 3 goals, and only 3 goals in that win over the Flames a few nights ago. But like we said, I stuck with the team total for Utah on Friday night against San Jose, thinking that, hey, those goals that didn't go in against Calgary and Cooley, watch them go in tonight against San Jose, and they did. They scored 6 goals. They erupted in that game against the San Jose Sharks. I think with this being a back-to-back spot, a very good chance, by the way, as well, with this being a back-to-back for the Boston Bruins, that we see Jonas Korpisalo in net after it was Swayman last night. And Jonas Korpisalo, 2 starts this year, 3.5 goals against average, .851 save percentage, and like I said, 7 goals in the 2 games combined. So I'm going to run it back for a 3rd straight game. This is the rubber match, if you will. This is like the trilogy of a UFC rivalry, kind of, it feels like. I won one with the Utah team total over against San Jose. I lost one with the Utah team total over against Calgary. This is the rubber match here. Let's get the rubber match of this little 3-game sequence of betting Utah's team total. So that's what I'm at here. That's where I'm at here, is Utah team total over in this game. Let me just see what the number is on that. But it's 3.5 with over 3.5 minus 110. Best price out there for Utah team total over. Mild lean to the over by Fecta, but I think I like the first period over a little bit. Boston's starting to whip it up again with the first period overs, by the way. Talk about how last night, or the Vegas game, first period over. The Colorado game, first period over. The Tampa game, first period over cashed in that one. So during this 3-game stretch here for the Bruins, all 3 of their games this week have gone over in the first period. 4 of the last 5 Bruin games have gone over in the first period. So I'm going to tack on that over by Fecta, but I like the first period over more. I'm definitely going to slant the bet more to the first period over in this game than the full game over. Alex, what do you think here? Boston, Utah.
Yeah, everything I like is first period in this game. I had the first period over 1.5 minus 125. Both teams to score in the first plus 156. And I did take a small flyer on correct score in the first period, 1-1 tie plus 550.
All right, great stuff. As far as props here, even though I think there could be goals, especially early, I didn't go crazy here with the prop betting in this game, other than to say Michael Carcone. Here's someone that's on the 3rd line for them. Obviously, Keller, Hayton, Schmaltz, Peterka, Cooley, Gunther, always live to score. But Carcone had his most ice time by far against San Jose, 12 minutes after playing only 7 the first 2 games, and he got a goal. I think there's probably some value here with Michael Carcone here in this one. Yeah, I mean, certainly it's a big price, Grant. I noted with it's a big underdog price Boston's getting, no doubt. But I don't know. It's a real tough scheduling spot in Vegas Thursday, in Colorado last night, 3rd and 4 nights, back-to-back altitude, thin air nights where you got to play. And if I'm Utah, that's another reason the first period over kind of stands out even more than the full game. Don't you have to run this pace right into the ground here against this Boston team on a second night of bat. Like, ramp it up here if you're Utah. Make them defend, make them skate, especially early, coming off that game last night against Colorado, and that could be your pathway to success. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, Sunday is always fun. We got a little NHL. Of course, NFL takes center stage as well, but appreciate you guys joining us on the Sunday edition of the Ice Guys show. And speaking of NFL, you can get picks in the NFL, picks in the NHL, picks in all sports from a bunch of great handicappers at wizardsportspicks.com. The make or break game for me for a profitable card with all sports yesterday on the site was Tennessee, Alabama over. Boy, did I have fun losing that one. My goodness, brutal. That was the difference maker. But still, it's been an overall really solid run on the website. We're on an 11-6 college football and NFL run combined going into today. So check it out there. I'm there. Alex B. Smith is there. Matt Robinson's there. Tons of great our old friend Dana Lane, of course. Wizardsportspicks.com. Make sure you get on board there. And absolutely make sure you get on board at patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 per month. Again, we've got all kinds of great bonus content there. Goalie charts, totals charts. We've got, obviously, all our past Ice Guys Players Suite shows. We're going to have exclusive live betcasts later in the year. And, of course, our daily betting card posted each and every day. Sides, totals, player props posted on the Patreon page for Patreon members exclusively each and every day. So make sure you check it out. Only $10 per month. Well worth it to be on board as a Patreon member. And thanks to those people that participate in the live chat rooms as well. Get the conversation flowing there. Make sure you check it out. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got all of your wonderful merch items. We've got caps, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, bags, you name it. We've got it with our crazy logos and stuff on it. So check them out right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special tonight and best bets coming right up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Kings and Queens shop.
All right, make sure you support and check out all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis. Check them out, royalcannabisshop.com, 20% off using the promo code IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special tonight. Yeah, appreciate all the kind words. Hal L saying thank you, Ian and Alex. You know what it is? We take great pride in knowing that there's no other source or place out there doing a Sunday NHL betting show during an NFL Sunday. It's just not happening. Go look. Tell me which one's out there. You can't find one. Can't find one with a telescope, as I like to say. So we take pride in that we're still here, even on a busy NFL Sunday, and most people's attention is on football, that we're still here breaking down every NHL game from a betting perspective on a Sunday. We take great pride in that. So thank you to everyone. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Man, is it a relief. Whew. Big exhale for me. Finally getting a bargain bin special winner home with Connor Brown yesterday for New Jersey. Alex, what do you like here today for bargain bin special?
Yep, Sunday night, 6 o'clock start. Let's head over to 1901 West Madison. Got the Hawks taking on the Ducks, and I already talked about how I like Frank Nazar to get a goal here. I like him to score the first goal of the game, plus 1,600. I'm also grabbing him to get 2 points in this contest. You can get that at FanDuel at plus 420, a price we like. So there's 2 bargain bins on Frank Nazar. First goal, plus 1,600, and 2 points or more in the contest at plus 420. My bargain bin specials for this Sunday night.
All right, great stuff. My bargain bin special of the night, a little Gary Thorne bargain bin special of the night. Off the floor, on the board. Well, in this case, healthy scratch and on the board. Jonathan Berggren, Detroit Red Wings, back in the lineup after not playing the last 3 games, and on the second line, it looks like, in this afternoon affair for the Red Wings as well. And plus 700 is the best price out there for Jonathan Berggren to find the back of the net. So another big price. It was a big price with Connor Brown yesterday at plus 600. We'll see if we can get another big price with Jonathan Berggren for the Detroit Red Wings, plus 700 for my bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday. All right, best bets. 2-0 sweep with best bets for Alex and I yesterday. We'll see if we can make it an encore here today. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Let's head out to Salt Lake City, Utah, where the Mammoth are taking on the Boston Bruins. I like that first period over 1.5. You get minus $1.25 at MGM and Caesars. Said Korpisalo most likely going for the Bruins. Boston back-to-back in altitude both nights. So you're going from Denver thin air to Salt Lake City thin air. Maybe they don't have their legs at all in this contest, and it could be goals galore early and often. Hopefully at least 2 in the first period with Mammoth and Bruins first period over.
All right, Boston, Utah, first period over for Alex B. Smith with his Sunday best bet, which is on my card, but it is not my best bet. My best bet is Anaheim, Chicago. We're going to go over 6, minus 110. I like how this sets up. Chicago, they got the 2-0 lead. They didn't add to the lead. They paid the price for it. Kind of went, a little too conservative after getting that lead. Not tonight. I think if they score, they're going to look to add to it. Anaheim, we'll have to see. Defensively, the last time we saw them on the road was in San Jose, and they won, but they gave up 6 goals. That's still the area of the Ducks team that's a work in progress, the defensive end of the ice. But after only scoring 1 goal against Carolina, I expect a bounce back offensively from the Anaheim Ducks here as well. The last time they were off a loss and a low-scoring loss, they put up the 7 spot on San Jose. So I think both teams aggressive, and both teams find the back of the net tonight. So Anaheim, Chicago, over 6, minus 110 for my best bet here for this Sunday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Great show. Appreciate it very much. Hit the like button on the way out. The start time of the Monday show to be determined. I can tell you that the estimate will be 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, somewhere in that range. Right after I'm done the college football hitting the book show with Connor Mack, we will get this show up and running. So stay tuned. I will post the tweets on Twitter, X, my account, Ice Guys account, and you'll know when the show is going to start tomorrow. It'll be a quick show, too, because it's a very small Monday card, but it'll be 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in that range tomorrow. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we are back tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys.